Greetings folks, Dan here, and welcome back to another edition of Kaiju Showcase. Today we're going to be branching the show out a little more, and we're not going to be doing the standard Bandai or Ultraman toy that we usually do on here, but this time we're going to be doing a Godzilla toy. It's not a Bandai Godzilla toy, it is in fact the 1983 release of the 1962 Godzilla by Yamakatsu. Before we get to the obvious thing that needs to be addressed here, we will talk about the toy itself. Standard articulation for this kind of toy, the standard Saurian toy: arms, legs, tail. Head does not move, but so it's got 5 points of articulations for those that are concerned with that matter. The detail is pretty good. I mean, it is in the light, you can see all the little sculpted details, and the teeth, for the most part, sorry about the lighting situation, are individually sculpted. The inside of the mouth is painted. You can't really see that. The eyes are they're decently painted. I don't see them going too far outside of the line if I keep that in the camera. Of course, this is an 83 toy, so it's not going to be up to par with the toy you see nowadays. I do like the color on the back. The silver on the spines looks really good. For this kind of toy, it's got a lot of overspray. People don't like that. I think it gives it charm, and I like the fact that it goes all the way over the head to the tip of the nose, and I really think that's a nice feature. No paint on the the claws, none of that stuff, claws, feet, all that jazz. There's no paint on that. It's as I said, the detail's really good, even goes down to the tail and everything. Now, the big issue with the toy, that, for those of you that know about Yamakatsu, it does not in any way, shape, or form really resemble the 62 Godzilla. If you're going to stretch it a little bit and say, like I'm going to, and say, well, I think it does resemble it. And there's this one little part that you can see the top of the head. There's kind of the top jaw kind of expands out a bit, which kind of reminds me a little bit of the 62 Godzilla. But I think I'm looking way too hard into something to try to find something like a point of reference between the two. Of course, it's got the typical Godzilla design, but it doesn't just look like the 62 Godzilla. It looks like a 60s Godzilla. Just somewhere in there, this shape could vaguely have been used in any film. This was again done by a different company though. Yamakatsu, it's not a Bandai. It's only about 6 inches tall, give or take. I'll get the yardstick out so we can see that. And while I, discuss some matters here, it's a little bit shorter than Hydra, and that's, maybe about 1/4 of an inch off, give or take. Now, the problem with me saying this is a 62 Godzilla is, while a good number of sources will say this is the 62 because they did another one that was a 64, it's not clearly stated anywhere. I haven't seen any hardcore proof. I mean, there are some conflicting evidence that it's not. So it's really hard to say for sure unless somebody came out with like a publication from Yamakatsu who said, look, this is a 62. It's kind of hard to say. But for the time being, until something comes up otherwise, I will say that this is a 62 Godzilla. And as I said, this toy was released in 1983. That would coincide with the first release of the standard Bandai Godzilla toys that we think of now. We all can recall in this present day. Of course, the original toy that Bandai put out was also a 62 Godzilla, but that's a different story. If I do the review, it's also a much bigger toy. Yamakatsu actually did 8 toys altogether. 10 if you count in the 6-inch line. 10 if you count there's a 2-inch Godzilla. They did a gold and silver variant. It's the same mold, but you could say 10, 9, 10, whatever. But they had a lot of toys right at the launch. I'm not sure why they succeeded. All the toys were made in '83, and that was the only time they really made them. But before I really move on to that, we'll talk about that a little bit later. The toy itself, I really like. It's neat because it's something different to me. If you're used to Bandai, you're probably not going to like it. The toy is actually a lot softer vinyl than you would figure for an older toy like this. But I mean, it's really hard for me to say, go get it. But I like them. I like them because they're different. If you like something that's a little bit different, get it. If you're used to Bandais or older Bonders or something, you might not like it because the detailing isn't really up to par with even, this old Hydra, which was molded in 1983. But the mold's, I think a lot better. So it's kind of hard to say. But it's your call, guys. Alright guys, now it's time for history. No. Now, of course, we get to talk about that last little bit of information, availability, pricing, and maybe I'll rant a little bit after that. First of all, of course, availability. It's not really going to be easily available. I mean, it's an old toy. It's right around 30. It's getting close to 30 years old. It's 29 years old this year. They're not just going to be out there. You see them from time to time. I've seen them places. They come and go. I've lost auctions trying to get them a couple times. So it's hard to say. They pop up. I've heard from some people that they were available. And, somebody mentioned to me that they were available in states at one point or another. I don't know. I don't know for sure they were sold in the store. That's just what I've heard. Don't know for sure. Pricing is another thing. When they originally came out, they were priced at about 500 yen. So in today's inflation, it's about $6, give or take. Now though, this figure in particular will go for, I've seen it fetch anywhere between, just a rough average, $30 to $50. I've seen it just average about in between those prices. So you can go for less, more. It's the internet. It's how it goes. Again, it's an older toy. They're just not out there. If it's something you want, if you really, really want it, you'll pay a little more, or if you're patient like myself, you'll get a good deal on it, like I did on this toy. But, I mean, they're out there. I can't say they're really, I would imagine they're kind of rare, I guess, to some extent, or extremely uncommon. 29 years old, a Japanese toy. The manufacturer only made these 1 year. They released 1 year. I don't know how long they kept the production going. And that'll kind of bleed into what I'm about to talk about, which is why they're not around anymore. I don't know. This is speculation from me, so if you don't give a shit at this point, you can close out or whatever. But my guess is the toy company probably isn't around anymore. For one, they did release a lot of toys at the start, and the pricing was probably good, 500 yen. I don't know. I don't know if that was expensive. Yen went a lot, it went a lot further. A yen went a lot further back then, like most currencies, due to inflation and whatnot. But, while they're nice toys, they're cool. They had the soft vinyl. Maybe that was ahead of their time. Bandai had the harder vinyl. The sculpts were better. The toys were bigger. Yeah, Bandai only had one in '83, but who's to say when these were released? Bandai could have released theirs first, and Yamakatsu like, well, fuck, we'll put one out real fast, arm blind, and then do that. And it could have been late '83, and then next up was early '84. I don't know all the history, dates, and everything. If somebody does, please correct me. But, maybe it's just Bandai, to me, seems like a better quality toy, despite the fact that I like these Yamakatsus. I want to get the rest of them because I think they're neat. They're different. They're a part of, Kaiju toy history, despite the fact that they only went one. And I know a lot of people probably say they suck. But, I like them as toys. I think they're neat because, as I said, they're part of, history. They're part of our, what our group of people do. But I think that's going to be it for this review. This is something a little bit different, as I said. I did not see another review for this online, so maybe if anybody else, anybody that's like, hey, I'm thinking about getting Yamakatsu, say, hey, check out that one dude that does these one videos about these one toys, and, maybe you'll like it. But thank you all again for tuning in. Let me know what you think of the new theme song that I put in last week's episode. Hopefully, if you, some of you I'm sure probably noticed, but nobody said anything, so they probably don't hate it. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.